You're listening to We Do Recover, the podcast that proves recovery is possible and connection is powerful. In today's episode, Jaerden shares his transformative journey from addiction to recovery. The discussion begins with Jaerden recounting his chaotic early life, marked by family struggles and substance abuse that escalated from marijuana to harder drugs like OxyContin and heroin. He reflects on the pivotal moments that led him to a life of crime, including a series of pharmacy robberies driven by desperation and addiction. After facing significant legal consequences, including time in jail and prison, his path takes a turn when he enters a treatment program that offers him the support and community he desperately needed. Let's jump into today's episode.
Welcome to episode 180. I'm your host, Jared Miller. Today, I'm very excited to have our featured guest today is Jaerden J. I have the opportunity to work with this guy every single day. I'm not just saying this because I'm trying to, boost him up here, but this guy's one of the best case managers that I've worked with. Just the way he interacts with the guys, the caseload that he has, the lengths that he goes to make sure that our guys get good services, frankly, is very impressive to me. So thank you for all that you do. Welcome to the episode, man.
I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
So I'm excited. Me and Jaerden have been talking about doing this for a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It has. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah.
Finally, our schedule's lined up. Before we get to Jaerden's story, though, we want to let you guys know about a couple trusted resources. The first one's going to be Diamond Detox. Diamond Detox is a private detox up in Roy, Utah. They have really good amenities, professional staff, private rooms. I just can't say enough good things about them. Again, that's why they're a trusted resource of this podcast. Check them out. You can give them a call at 385-988-5332, or you can check out their website at diamonddetox.com. I feel like every recovery story starts with a detox, right?
100%. Mine did.
It's your first step, right? So
checks out.
If you're listening to this, if you or a loved one needs some help, check out Diamond Detox. They're a great resource. Another trusted resource for this podcast that me and Jaerden are both affiliated with is Renaissance Ranch. Renaissance Ranch, baby. He's got the logo on the chest. I got it on the hat. Dude, look at us, man. We're decked out.
They take care of us.
Jaerden, why don't you tell people, why do you love the ranch?
The ranch has something different that I haven't seen from treatment facilities in the past, and that is the basis of the brotherhood, and that is big. Community is big in recovery, and that is something that we really pride ourselves in, is getting these individuals to develop a community, not only while in treatment, but also outside of treatment. And that starts within the treatment center that we both are currently employed for. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be working with such a great resource,
Well said. Well said. And I'm sure our listeners are going to probably get tired of me saying this, but one of the things that really impresses me about the ranch is the alumni program.
Oh, 100%.
I feel like they set the gold standard for the alumni, and long-term, they care how their clients do long-term and put a lot of resources around making sure that the clients are successful long-term. So
yeah, agreed.
You can give them a call at 801-308-8898 or visit their website at renaissanceranch.com to learn more. Very simple format.
Yeah.
Got a couple questions here for you, though.
Of course.
What was life like before addiction?
Before addiction. So I'm from Denver, Colorado, originally. Moved out to St. George about 3.5 years ago in efforts to find recovery. And growing up, I had a pretty solid childhood. I wouldn't put it to the side that I had a stable home for the most part. Me and my brothers and sisters were always provided for. There wasn't a lot of struggle, but there was a lot of relationship struggles between my father and mom. And there was a lot of domestic abuse within my childhood. Those are things I still am in efforts of healing today that have carried on into my recovery, and have kind of pushed me forward to look deeper into these things and how they exist so prolonged after the experiences actually happen.
Part of the whole healing journey, right?
Oh, 100%.
Just because you get clean doesn't mean that you're, all of a sudden cured in any way. There's things that you look back on your life and you're like, okay, maybe at the time that was normal. And then it carried into some stuff into my adult years, which contributed to the addiction. And now looking back, it's maybe realizing it's not so normal.
I honestly feel like since getting into recovery, it's come up more so
Really?
than it has during the process of my addiction. I was younger when all this took place, so it's hard to process those things when your brain is still developing and you're still trying to understand what life is exactly. And since getting into recovery, I I numbed everything with substances. So being able to get into recovery is when I really started feeling like, wow, these things have effects past way more than I actually knew existed.
For sure, man. Tell me about little Jaerden, though. I mean, I know the adult Jaerden.
Oh yeah,
You're like a
100%.
softball guy. You're a
All
sports
around.
guy. Growing up, were you pretty
Yeah.
involved in
So
sports? And
yeah, I grew up playing pretty much everything: basketball, baseball, roller hockey was a big thing. Yeah, dude. I loved roller hockey. I honestly say that was probably the sport I was best at.
that's awesome.
Yeah, but that's a hard one to get
Did you
into
like
these days.
Did you like Mighty Ducks as a little
Oh
kid?
yeah, the movie?
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah, 100%,
yeah.
dude.
The
Yeah, it was
Bash
awesome.
Brothers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, baby.
All the
Knuckle
good Disney
Puck.
movies.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
man.
dude, they were great, man. But, yeah, there was a lot of sports, and my dad was, like, heavily involved with that side. My dad was a, AAA player for the Minnesota Twins, so
Oh wow.
he kinda portrayed this structure of sports in my life, and that's the first time I really started feeling connected in my childhood to anything that I really had pleasure within doing, and that's something that I have picked up in my recovery because the addiction displaced those things that existed in my early childhood.
Right. Yeah, I love recreational sports. I feel to your point, I feel like that's for a young individual, that's a really good way of learning community, camaraderie, all
Yeah.
like relationships are formed. Like some of the people that I'm best friends with today, like I played AYSO soccer with and Little League Baseball and
Yeah,
totally.
it was an experience, man, and, we were part of, like, the travel baseball and all these things, so, like, those are some of my core memories that definitely existed, and then I got really into extreme sports, skateboarding, traveled the world competing in all kinds of different competitions, like, through Woodward camps and,
Wow.
yeah, Volcom Wild in the parks and just all kinds of stuff, and
That's cool,
then
man.
kinda got into snowboarding, being from Denver, hour and a half drive up
Oh yeah.
I-70, and
Gotta have winter sports.
oh, yeah, man, and I didn't find that until a little bit later on, like, probably, like, 15, 16. But when I did, I was all in. I even moved up to Breckenridge, started my college up in, Colorado Mountain College up in, Frisco, Colorado.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was my first experience, kinda like the college aspect, and because of the snowboarding, is like, "How can I live up here and
Be able to
do
hit the
something meaningful?"
slopes.
Yeah, and hit the slopes
Yeah.
every day. It's like class, that,
That's cool,
back and
man.
forth, yeah,
That's
but
cool, man. I would imagine like your first introduction to substance use was it high school? Was it college?
so it was actually, yeah, beginning of, well, so my brother introduced me to marijuana at a young age. So I
Okay.
was probably 7th, 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
Elementary.
oh yeah, yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, pretty early on. It wasn't something that I took up though until my parents had split up, and I was kind of. And it leads into a whole nother story of the abandonment wounds that I have. Dad went to prison.
Mm.
Mom went off with another guy. Kind of got left on my own.
Well, let's jump into that. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So, when I was about 14, with the domestic disputes and everything that was existing within the home, it reached a high point, and turned into domestic violence. My dad, committed some things that he has made amends to me for, has made amends to other people for. That happened that, he had to go end up doing some jail time for consecutive offenses.
Mm.
My mom had pretty much left the picture, went and started seeing another guy, and went and lived with him and left me with our home, our family home, pretty much to myself, to me and my sister.
Is
Um,
your sister older or younger?
she's older. I'm the youngest of three, but we have different dads. So my sister and brother have the same mom, same dad. I'm the only child to my dad, and so when this happened, my brother was kind of off with his dad, moved out of the city to live with his dad. My sister was kind of going back and forth. She just had a kid. She was six. She had her first kid at 16. So when she was about 20, 22, I think, I was about 14. And,
Yeah.
so she had her focuses while also trying to parent me because my mom had left a picture. Dad was, in prison.
Right.
And that's when I decided to make my own decisions. I was like, I'm going to grow up today.
Mm.
Right. Because we don't know no better in those moments. I went into survival, which I can see today, but back then I didn't know it was survival.
Right. Right.
I was just like, cool. I don't got to go to school. I have no one to answer to. these type of things started to exist, I started to see this picture of like, I don't have to obey anything. And that's when I kind of started going on this path of like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out for me.
And I feel like to some degree that stage is like normal, right? Like you're
Yeah.
14, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Not like the abandonment, don't get me wrong with that point, but like kind of that like taste of freedom. Like I can remember when I hit like 13 or 14, I couldn't wait to be 16 to be able to drive a car,
Yeah.
right? So I think in that stage of life, some of that like independence and wanting to make our own decisions is probably semi-normal. The difference is parents are supposed to kind of keep us on the rails.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, not to laugh at what you were going through, but I'm sure at the time, without parents to keep you on the rails, I imagine this is kind of where things start getting sideways.
Yeah. So I definitely entered a rebellious phase. And like you were saying, I couldn't wait to be 16 to drive a car. Mine was the exact opposite. Like I had been waiting for this day so I could do whatever the hell I want and no one could tell me what to do.
Mm.
And, I didn't see get the driver's license. I didn't see any of those things in my future. I wanted to make money and be successful. And there was a lot of things, and there's a lot of outside sources of validation, whether it be through music videos or all these things. I wanted the women, I wanted the car, I wanted the money, I wanted the drugs. And that's what my kind of life had been portrayed into.
Got ya.
Once that disciplinary system kind of left my life.
It almost sounds like kind of the social scene or the social MTV, because MTV was big back then, right?
Yeah.
It became like a parental figure for you.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that kind of portrayed the way I started carrying myself and going into my life. And so the first phase of everything was definitely marijuana, 100%. And this was the time in Colorado where medical marijuana was just getting introduced. And so when medical marijuana,
how old are you? Sorry, how old
I was
are you?
15.
No, how old are you now?
32.
Okay.
Yeah. It's about 16 years ago.
And the marijuana thing has been pretty active, like for the past, 10 years?
I mean, yeah, recreational, probably about 8 to 10.
Okay.
Yeah, but during that phase, it was strictly medical. There was nowhere.
But it was legal.
Yeah, it was legal. Not for someone my age,
right?
100%.
Not 14-year-old Jaerden, it wasn't.
Right? Yeah, no. So what had happened was I started to get intermingled with a circle of friends that were not good influences. And so what we did when medical marijuana came onto the scene is back then the medical marijuana licenses were just pieces of paper. That's all they were. You didn't need anything else but this paper that said you were eligible, blah, 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 signatures from whatever type of doctor that was prescribing these medications, right?
Got it.
And so we started, forging them. We
manufacturing your own.
So I had a friend who was really good with the, Photoshop and all these things. So he got a legit medical license from an individual, Photoshopped it, put our names on it. And then their Craigslist back then was huge during that time. And it was legal for caregivers to sell product to people with licenses at that time. So I couldn't go into an actual dispensary.
Because you're 14.
Yeah, exactly. You still need to prove ID. But there was a way around that. You get on Craigslist, contact a caregiver, and we were buying pounds of weed, for pennies to the dollar because of these licenses that we were, fraudulently making. And
it's wild.
And that's where it all began. And that's like, that led into a spiral because it gave me all the outside validation that I ever wanted, because now I had the drugs, I had the money, I had everything. So then it became, into sales. Plus you give me a home by myself, I had the spot to go to. Yeah. I was the person that always was validated by these other individuals because I had the house to go to. You can go here and get drugs. We can party there. We can do all these things. And I never had to face no disciplinary action for any of these things that were existing.
Got you. Yeah. Again, you didn't have the parents to kind of keep you on the rails, right? So 14-year-old Jaerden's getting a lot of medical marijuana. I'm going to use air quotes.
Yep.
Medical marijuana, right?
Marijuana. Yeah.
Okay. Talk to me about, I imagine at that time, do you feel like you were addicted at that point, or was it more recreational, social use?
I mean, social, recreational, right? It was more of a means of providing for myself. I was more on the distribution side than the using, but of course they coexist.
Sure.
Right. But it got me more into a society or community of people that were just not good individuals. So within this abandonment when that taken place, I was searching for a family. Like
acceptance.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I got, as I grew in sales and grew in distribution, I got introduced to higher members of this community. And that's when I got involved in gangs. And that became my family. That became, okay, these people are looking out for me. These people have my back. These people are a sense of a family that I don't currently have, that I can call on. That not me being 16 and dealing in the amounts that I was, I needed protection,
Right.
right? Because I'm very vulnerable.
Well, you're 16 and I'm sure you had large amounts of cash on you. And
Yeah, it was not a good look.
I think anybody who like judges that really doesn't understand the power of that like acceptance and that like connection, even though it's sure like it's dysfunctional and it's not like healthy, right? But at 14, you don't know any different. And
No.
these people, like you said, protect you and look
Yeah.
out for you, and they give you that sense of community and family. And
Hmm.
so it makes sense.
Yeah. So,
Makes sense.
and within that, I fell into a false identity because that was never me. I was always the compassionate individual that was just so simple and loved sports and all of these things. And it
Mm,
took me away from that person completely. And within these circles is when I started getting introduced to harder and harder drugs, harder substances. Started off with ecstasy. Ecstasy was huge back then within the rave scene, the concerts. Colorado's huge on concerts and
right. Right.
all these things. So it was a every weekend thing. And, I just kept meeting more and more people within the society, and then led into cocaine. And then it just kept going and kept
Right.
going. And then I found what I call my first love was OxyContin. And that gave me that warm hug from a mother that I didn't have, that didn't exist within my life at that time.
It's powerful. I get it.
Yeah, and it was so big back then
Oh, yeah.
because, like, they had pushed everything to the side with all the lawsuits you see with Purdue Pharmaceuticals and everything that takes place today, like how under the rug they had swept everything.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
I was
and
never into like distribution. I was always just the bottom end junkie. But I can remember seeing, and this isn't meant to like glorify but I can remember seeing like softball bags of OxyContin,
oh yeah,
and like for
100%.
a kid from a rural community to
Yeah.
see that much, not even being somebody who's ever like selling it or just being on the end of
Mhm.
the consumer, that just goes to show like, imagine like an inner city volume.
Oh yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
and
crazy. It was just, yeah, it led to the pandemic that
we're
we're
currently in.
experiencing today. So
Yeah,
yeah, totally get it.
100%, man, and, that that first initial use was the first time I actually felt numb, and I didn't know that I was looking to feel numb or not feel at all,
Right.
until I felt that. And it was just like, all my problems are gone. I don't have to, I can just be who I want to be, and I can feel good while doing it. It was the implementation of a substance and like a synthetic spirit that I had never felt before. And I was like, I want to keep doing this. This is something like I can base my whole life off this.
Well, I think that's like, honestly, as I think about addiction and my experience, and this is 180 episodes into interviewing
Yeah.
other people and having them share their stories and working with clients, it seems like when there's a substance that can give you like a spiritual slash emotional connection, if you
Yeah.
will,
Agreed.
that's when like the hooks are in deep.
Yeah, and there was no education ever within what addiction is, right?
Right.
Like, and so I kept repeating the same cycle. Get up, do this, sell drugs, use. Like
Mm.
that was my cycle. And then I remember waking up one morning and just feeling like I had the flu. And I'm just like, okay, I'm sick. Like
You thought it was just
common
the
cold.
regular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This'll pass. And then you do that dose, you get well, and it goes away, and that's when I started questioning, like, what is going on here? Am I only feeling good when I use this substance? And that's when the research took place.
Interdependence.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and so that research took place, and I was like, holy shit, I'm addicted to a substance.
So
And
prior to that, there hadn't ever really been like like if you didn't have it, you were like,
no. Yeah, like
okay.
even with the marijuana, like it never was like oh, I can't function without.
Right.
you know, and the other substances, I didn't have that much interest in them.
Not that that's everybody's story, but
Oh
just
no,
for you,
100%. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
Got it.
I think it was definitely being able to feel that separation of like, okay, this is what it feels like to need something, as to where like, okay, I can get up and do this if I want,
Right.
you know, and kind of have a sense of control. But then that's when that kind of started happening, that's when the control went out the window. And I started becoming less and less of who I truly was and more of that synthetic spirit that
Yeah.
exists.
That soft Jaerden that
Less. Yeah.
has a
Gone.
big heart and
Yeah.
loves playing softball with his buddies
Yeah.
and
Gone, dude.
wants that family system.
Yeah, it was rough. And then that was right around the time that I got into it. It probably existed for a year before they introduced the oxyplastics, which was the tamper proof, abuse proof.
Yeah.
And that created a whole nother epidemic because then heroin came into play.
I was gonna say, and in my story, by the time that was introduced, I was already like into the heroin.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
and for me is the exact opposite. We didn't like me and the circle that I, was close knit with and was using with, it was like, what the hell do we do? Ain't nobody popping these things.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, and then it leads to going downtown and finding the closest Honduran that you can find and from balloons and everything like that. And then it's, you see a whole nother lifestyle because when it was OxyContin, it was isolation and within the home and through a prescription. And like I had done the dirty doctors, like I had a dirty doctor that was on my payroll. So
Yeah.
it was like consistent. And then they started cracking down on everything. And that just threw me into a whole nother, like, I'm going to take this up full time. I'm going to go out and search. I'm going to find the best plug I can possibly find. I even went as far as learning Spanish just so I can get the best connection.
That's why.
Yeah. And like literally, like that was my only intention within the Spanish. And like, yeah, I speak minimal, but it's definitely drug Spanish.
But when
for
you
those
think about it,
connections.
your identity was so wrapped up in that world that it makes sense. If your identity would have been in sports still at that age, you would have been going to all the camps and
Oh, yeah,
getting the
100%.
best bats and
Yeah.
right, buying the best equipment.
Agreed.
Just goes to show like that power, the story you were telling yourself about like this is my identity. This is what brings me.
Yeah.
That's a powerful story, especially for a young individual.
Oh yeah. And it overtakes you,
So life got darker. The heroin thing
100% became an
a
everyday
thing.
thing, and then I turned 18 and I think within like the first 3 months of being 18, I had caught my first drug charge. And this was when they just started introducing drug felonies.
So all that happened between 14 and 18.
Yeah.
In a 4-year period, you went from
Mhm.
trying marijuana for your first time.
Yep.
Dang.
All the way to an everyday chase.
Right.
Chasing
and
the dragon.
heroin.
Yeah. Yeah. Escalated very quickly. Yeah.
So 18, you catch your first drug charge.
Yep. And they put me on drug court.
Did you go to jail?
Court. Yeah, I did. That was my first time.
What was your experience of checking into jail for the first time?
The very first time, man. And like, this is Denver County Jail. So very busy, very big, right in the middle of downtown, like part of downtown. And I go in there and I'm still this sucked up little individual. And I'm just like, I'm in fear for my life, to tell you the truth. And with the gang affiliation and everything, stepping into those types of spaces and any type of affiliation, your whole mindset shifts because as soon as you get in, you're being approached. Where are you from? Who are you with? Who are you running with? These types of things. And luckily that very first
time. If you
time,
say the wrong thing, you can get in trouble real fast.
Real quick. You'll catch yourself in a wreck you don't want to be in. And I had this understanding of like, this may take place one day in my life when I got involved. And it really was a test like, hey, are you willing to live up to the identity you've been creating? Luckily, I was only in there for like 72 hours. Simple drug case.
Right.
We're gonna set you up with a court date. We're gonna plea you out probably in advance. And
so you got released on OR?
Yeah. So it was like a PR bond, personal recognizance, and then so I get out.
Did anybody ask you to scan a mattress? Did they do that?
No, I used to do that to people when I was in prison,
bro.
Yeah, or go check in for the fishing trip. Yeah.
So the first time I go to jail, right?
Yeah.
I walk into the pod and I'd heard all the terrible things about it. And so I'm like scared for sure. I was fearful. And a dude comes up to me and he's like, hey man, did you scan when you walked in? I noticed you didn't scan your mattress. And I was like, scan my mattress. I'm like thinking in my head and I'm in withdrawal. Right. And so my brain's not working. And he's like, yeah, you got to go hold your mattress pad up to the dome window. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I walk over, I hold my mattress pad up to the dome window. They get on the overhead and they're like, Mr. Miller, put the mattress down and walk to your cell.
We're laughing too.
Oh, dude.
They're having the best time. Yeah, dude. Yeah, there's
I was
so
that
many
guy
things.
anyways.
Yeah, no, it was an experience, you know.
I can
But
laugh about it now.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%, man. I think that it's funny because whenever you go into any facility, everybody's like, you got any drugs? Did you bring anything
Oh,
in?"
yeah.
And that was like my first implementation was, "No, I don't. Do you have any?" Like it didn't matter where I went. Like I was still seeking. And that showed me, I think the very first time how sick I was
Mm,
because I didn't care about anything I was currently facing or what was going on or where I was. I still was reaching out for a substance.
right.
But upon release of that, I got into drug court and of course I didn't comply. You know, there was no suffering that had taken place prior. No type of understanding of why my life was going down the path it was. I was just choosing it.
Right.
You know,
There's
I
no
was openly
reflective
choosing it.
period.
Yeah, there are no reflections. I get out and there was a time frame in between where like I kept going to court and this is when drug court like was very new.
Okay.
So they were like, just keep showing up. Doesn't matter that you're still using. It doesn't matter that you're doing these things, you know, just keep showing up. We won't give you a warrant. We won't take you to jail if you just show up. I'm like, that's simple. You know, I could do that.
Mm,
I could still get high. All I got to do is show up. So um, I didn't care. And then, you know, I think they had told me probably like 6, 8 months in, like, hey, we have resources for MAT for methadone. And, you know, I was like, I've never heard of it. I do drugs that I know about.
got ya.
But I was like, I'm willing to try.
So would drug court allow you to do MAT?
Yes, they
See,
would.
when I attempted drug court, they didn't. You weren't allowed any MAT.
Mm, yeah.
But like I'm older than you. Maybe
But
by then they'd come around a little bit more to the science of it.
yeah, for sure. And so I gave it a try and like it was a process. You had to be sick for 72 hours before you come in. The intake was like 4 hours. So it was never something. It took me definitely a couple appointments in order to fully engage. And I got on methadone. Now, the methadone clinic within itself was its own environment because it was just outside of the methadone clinic. It was just pure connections. Everybody there was still using. So it was like, this opens up a whole new world of where I can find people that are dealing with the same substance abuse related issues that are willing to connect together.
That's a bad side of like help, right? Is like bringing a
Oh,
bunch
yeah.
of people together who are drug seeking.
Yeah, because then it's just a chaos.
Who do you know? What can you get?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what and that was my first. So I got on methadone and was like, okay, this stuff actually works. And
Can I pause you for one sec?
Yeah.
That's why I don't love the methadone without the therapy. And sure, like
Agreed.
I know that a lot of the places will do the kind of quote unquote minimal amount. But the problem is if you have a community of people coming together who are all drug seeking and there isn't any type of therapy or education or understanding of the disease and what happens is you get that. You just get it's like people who go to jail or prison and come out and have more connections
Than they
for
went in
illegal
with, yeah.
stuff that's even outside of drugs, right? Is unless there's some type of like trying to better the individual or have some understanding.
Yeah.
You're really just creating
I
new
agree.
avenues.
Yeah. And I know now it's like federally regulated that it's requirements, right? Of certain phases of MAT.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they're requiring therapy because it's true. I feel like there is no healing aspect that is involved. You can give somebody a substance, but are they just switching one for the other?
Totally. And I would debate if there isn't any type of therapy or any type of therapeutic community, they
Yeah.
are just switching one for another.
Oh, yeah, 100%. A lot of the time, that was me. And I did that because the methadone kept me stable for a long amount of time. The half life of it was so long that I was like, okay, I can get this dose in the morning, be good all day just in case I can't connect, in case I don't have money, you know? And then if I do, yeah, it's harder to get high on it. It is. It definitely replaces those receptors in a way that it's harder to get. The actual substance is harder to get to when you're trying to use it.
Like, forgive me if I'm kind of looking dumbfounded because I
Oh.
know the science of it,
Mhm.
but it's not a huge part of my story. I went to a methadone clinic and within, I want to say like that week, I got busted. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
how it's got
Oh yeah,
rated,
they're
right?
setting
And
people up.
like I never even like I didn't even get the opportunity to pursue that avenue because
Yeah.
as soon as I went there, that was my first time ever getting arrested. And
Oh
I
yeah.
do think that they had people sitting outside
That's
watching
that
and
environment I
people
was speaking on.
coming
Yeah.
and going, and because before then I had zero legal involvement. And so
They're waiting
again,
for you.
like I know from studying it, I know it from a certain perspective, but as far as actually experiencing it, like I don't really truly know because it wasn't a big part of my story. Does that
For
make
sure.
sense?
Yeah,
I
100%.
know that we're educating people here, right? Like the
Yeah,
methadone
agree.
goes in and it attaches to the receptors,
Mhm.
but there's no blocker.
No, not in methadone necessarily. The only one that
And
has the
that's why
blocker
you
is the
could,
Suboxone,
and that's right, because it has the
the naloxone.
naloxone.
Yep.
So people could use
Mhm.
methadone, but still use illicit substances
Yes.
and get
Yeah.
high,
Mhm.
essentially.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. And it's also a huge potentiator. I mean, just with other substances as well. You put a benzo in any type of opiate, whether synthetic or not,
Mm.
the potentiation that exists is when it becomes into a dangerous level. And that's kind of my story too, is like once I got on the methadone, I found benzos.
You no longer needed the heroin or the
No,
oxys
because
because
yeah,
you had your cocktail of benzos and
exactly.
methadone.
And it produces the same high, but also lasts the half-life is so much longer. It's where heroin, 2 hours you're needing to use. Fentanyl, 30 minutes. You know, these types of things. And you get the methadone and the benzos together, you're high all day.
Now I feel like we're educating people in a bad way, but
Yeah.
but here's
Yeah,
the
don't do that.
here's the scary part of that though.
Yeah.
That's how people die.
Exactly. And that's where
Right?
that
That
has to
because it's
be
real
awareness.
scary because both of those substances shut down the respiratory system
Exactly.
and you
Yeah.
essentially just stop breathing.
Yeah. Those CNS depressants.
So
man,
if you're out there and you're in early recovery and you're like, this is what I'm going to do,
don't do it.
don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, I
It's
want you to
risky.
keep breathing, bro, you know?
Yeah, exactly, man. And I feel like there has to be that awareness though that exists because a lot of people step into that. Like I had no clue what I was doing when like I said, it was the environment.
Bro.
This person's like, I have this connection for this. Take a couple of these with your methadone and this happens.
As you
Right?
look back, like I know at least I do, like you have to be amazed that like we're sitting here today.
Oh, 100%. There's no
like-
reason that I should be.
Knowing scientifically what happens when you take a benzo and like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
An opioid type substance, people die very regularly,
Yeah.
very often.
100%.
And I'm sure like you were
Several
probably
times.
putting some
Oh, yeah.
serious levels into your system. It's not like you were taking small doses of either, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And it continued to get worse and worse.
I'm glad you're here, bro.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here,
Yeah.
brother. Yeah, we're walking miracles, man. I think
Dang.
anybody in recovery to this day, especially if you've been using substances recently, that's in early recovery, it's a blessing to be here. You know, there's a plan for us
Absolutely.
that we have no business knowing though, because we'll put our hand in it somewhere and mess it all up.
And the relatability of if somebody's out there and they're in that stage of maybe abusing their mat and doing whether it's buprenorphine or whether it's methadone and they're mixing it with stuff.
Dangerous.
That's in my opinion, that's not a way to live.
No, it's
You know?
a danger zone, man. And it just numbs you to everything. And you no longer exist. There's no presence within your soul, within your spirit. And those things leave your body, you know, and
There's actually a book written on that. Sorry, I'm a geek. I
No,
read
you're
books,
good.
but it's called The Soul of Recovery. And it talks about how even if there's a medication that could take away a lot of the disease,
Yeah.
if people don't have that spiritual aspect,
yes.
they'll never truly recover.
Oh, 100%, man. And that's huge in my story as well. But
We'll
yeah,
get there. We'll
yeah,
get
we
there.
will,
Okay, so
100%.
take me back to you found a new drug of choice.
Yeah. So I started implementing this heavy into my regimen. If I couldn't get the heroin, I do this. If the pills weren't existing, there was this. There was always something to fall back on. But anyways, that spun me for a whole nother cycle because honestly, the methadone was probably the worst withdrawal that I've been through with the benzos. 100%.
I've heard that. I've
Yeah.
heard that.
You know, worse than heroin, worse than anything I've experienced to this day.
We were talking about that the other day. I was like, dude, I just knew if I just needed 72 hours.
Yeah.
With on just a straight heroin detox.
Yeah. I
like
remember
in
you saying
gel.
this.
Like I knew that if I got to, because I'd tried, bro. I'd tried so many times and I could just never make it to 3 days. And so when I was in gel and when it became to my awareness that drugs were in the gel, I was already 2 days in. And I was like, why would I do, like, I'm 1 day away from starting to feel better.
Yeah.
And you were like,
2.5 months.
that's wild.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And I think a lot of it has to do with the process of the mind really trying to gauge what's going on in your body, the connection between both energetically that is like, yo, you're not okay. And the mind is so powerful.
Oh yeah.
It overpowers everything within the body. And it's like, you're going to feel bad right now because you don't have this. And that's, I think, where the 2.5 months kind of spectrum came from,
Got you.
was implementing that. But yeah, it was all downhill from there.
The team at Diamond Detox is compassionate, helpful, and trained to support every step of the healing journey. Your loved one's path to a healthier, happier life starts with a free and easy 20 to 30-minute assessment over the phone or a few questions submitted online on the Diamond Detox website. Assessments and admissions occur 7 days a week, depending on availability. To begin the path to recovery, visit diamonddetox.com or call 385-988-5332.
I remember it was 2016, I had made a decision around my birthday when I couldn't get substances. I'd missed the methadone clinic that day, dosing hours, no money. No one was willing to do no fronts or anything because I burned all the bridges,
Because that's what we do.
Oh, yeah, we mess it all up. So I was very suicidal. I was very suicidal. And I had past attempts that were failed from overdoses, all these things, like, intentionally. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a move. And if this doesn't work, I'm going out suicide by cop. So I made this plan and I did a bunch of research. I'm that type of person that gets hyper focused and really maladaptive whenever I'm gonna commit any type of crime. I research it first. How long can I get? What's gonna happen in worst case scenario? Right? Like,
So you fully plan it out.
oh, 100%, dude. I had like pen to paper, like, this is the plan right here, right?
You could be successful at so many other things with that kind of a mind.
Well, hopefully, later on in the story,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
today
yeah.
that exists.
Okay, I'm with you though. Let's get it.
Yeah, so I made a plan up to rob pharmacies.
It's a scary plan.
Yeah, so, and I was like, look, and I didn't really, at this time, I didn't have any peers that I was using with. I didn't have a circle. And so I was like, this is me solely on my own. So I was like, I'm going to ride my skateboard up to the Walgreens that's 8 blocks away from my grandma's house. And I'm going to store my skateboard for 2 sets of clothes. I'm going to go in there and get as much as I possibly can with a sticky note. No weapon, because it's not armed robbery. It's just simple robbery.
Right.
So I do. I carry out this plan and I succeed the very first time. And I had done the research to know what was over the counter, what they had access to without time release safes, what kind of substances I could get. And I did it. And I was successful. And that opened up a whole another addiction within itself to adrenaline. And I kept doing it. I just kept, and I was just watching monstrous amounts of pills, Xanax, codeine, and Adderall. And those were my go-to because they were over the counter.
Got you. Easy.
Yeah, easy. Not in time release safes. Anything that's level 1, OxyContin, those types of things, they have to hit a time release safe. You go into a pharmacy, they tell you, I'm going to need 30 minutes to fill your prescription.
Right.
Time release safe. Anyways, so
Hopefully me and you aren't getting those kind of prescriptions these days, but yeah.
nope. Yeah. So, then that first success within committing that
How
first
old are
one,
you at this point in your story?
I was 19. Yeah.
So big boy crimes for
Yeah. 19,
adults.
20, kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I kept committing them, and I did a string of what I know today because of everything that I have faced. Legal disclaimer: I have,
Right.
yeah, 7 charges.
It's not like you can be arrested for talking about this
I've
because
done my
you've gone
time.
through it.
And I'll get to
Got
that too. But
our listeners are like,
yeah, dude.
somebody call the cops on this guy.
Yeah, for real. No, but so I got charged with 7 counts of aggravated robbery of a controlled substance. Aggravated because I was on drug court at the time. And I had made it through all these. All these are 7 successful attempts. Each and every one of them. It's just like a bank. If you go in there and demand money, they're supposed to give it to you. And that was the research that I did. I was like, I'm not going to get denied. It's just getting away.
And to point out, like, you were in a place of desperation.
Oh,
like
so
the alternative to this plan, as dark as this plan sounds, is suicide by cop.
Yeah.
And that goes to show like the power of the addiction in the mind. Once a year, my sister, she teaches pharmacy tech.
Mm-hmm.
She has me during the addiction phase and the medication assisted treatment stuff that they're learning about not come in, but Zoom and basically talk to the class and it's young teenage kids and they don't really get it. And one time a kid asked and he said, do you think addiction's a choice or a disease? And I said, it's both. It's a disease of choice. It starts off as a choice, becomes 100%. A disease. And he said, help me understand how it becomes a disease. And I said, have you ever been drowning? And he was like, no. And I was like, has anybody else in the class ever been drowning? few people raised their hand. And I said, what was the only thing that your brain could think about when you were underwater? And they were like, I want to live. Somebody said, I want to breathe. And I was like, exactly.
Surface.
I said, the person who made the choice, developed the disease, when they don't have the substance, their mind, it's like they're underground and it's like they're underwater and they can't breathe. The only thing their mind cares about is being able to get that substance, just like somebody drowning. The only thing they care about is being able to breathe. Is it a lie? Absolutely. You're not going to die.
Yeah.
But try telling the addict that who doesn't have anything. So we go to these lengths of like, I'm either going to rob pharmacies or I'm going to commit suicide by cop, because our brains are just so messed up.
Yeah. They go on a cycle of chaos, man.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent.
No, you're
but it
good.
just reminded me of that.
That's very,
and I think it helps listeners who haven't been through it try to like understand, like this is, Jaerden's a good dude. Like, what could make him get to this point?
Yeah, agreed. And it definitely starts as a choice though, dude. It does. That's the hard part. It's like, why am I doing this to myself?
To in some people's stories, like it might not start off as a choice. Like for me, like I was taking a prescribed medication.
Yeah, for sure. There's those implements. Yep.
And then like, sure, I guess it was a choice once I started taking it outside of the recommendation, like when I started abusing the medication. But I would argue that by that point, I was already dependent. I'd been on the medication for longer than a year.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
In some situations, it's not always as simple as like, well, you made one clear choice.
Yeah, agreed, man.
You know?
Yeah, there's definitely, I hear a lot about that too. A lot of people that I've known in my personal recovery have been started off the injury, the sports injury, those types of things.
Or they went to the doctor with massive anxiety because they had a rape or a physical assault or whatever, and they get put on a benzo, and then they start taking the benzo, and they see the doctor. The doctor first fills the medication. They continue to take the medication. Before they know it, I would argue if you're on that medication for longer than 2 weeks, you start to form some kind of dependence.
Oh yeah, I agree too. Sometimes even 3 days.
For sure.
It depends on the strength.
Okay, take me back to where you're at in your story. You get hit with 7?
Yeah, 7 counts aggravated robbery of a controlled substance. I went on the run though.
Dude, you just keep making the smartest choices possible.
Oh yeah, dude, the best ones, bro. Left to my own devices, I make the best choices, right?
Okay.
But yeah, so I go on the run because I figure, well, there's a news story. I'll have to show you sometime. But I saw this and was like, oh no, like that is me.
There was a news story about you.
Yeah, like Fox 31 News, like we're trying to catch this guy before he commits anymore. He's doing them in broad daylight. That's why it's so dangerous for the community. Like, all these things. And I saw that and was like, yep, I'm gone. A friend that I had in my addiction, his mom worked for one of the airlines. I think it was like Delta or something. And I was like, hey man, I'm trying to get out of the state. Like I am trying to go. I do not want to be nowhere near here. So I had this great plan to go to Hawaii and live on the beaches and just be a beach bum. And if they ever catch me, like, so be it. Didn't have a passport, so I couldn't leave the country. So
why not? What do you got to lose?
Yeah, and he's like, I'm going to come with you. I'm like, this is a great plan.
Couple dreamers.
Yeah, dude. So we get these, and this was before like the smartphones and how they have now. There was no QR code, plane tickets. It was like print out, present at TSA type of thing. And I go up to TSA, like got the tickets, was about to go to Hawaii. I go up to TSA and give them my ID, and they're like, we'll be right back. And I'm like, I've flown before. I've traveled. I'm like, yeah, TSA does not take your ID and says, I'll be right back.
This is different.
Yeah. And this is at Denver International Airport. So right outside of TSA, there's like a downward escalator that leads right to a tram train that goes straight to downtown. So as soon as he's like, I'll be right back, turns his back, I dip. I'm like, I'm gone. So I hop on the train and I go back, and this is right around the 4th of July. And of course I'm using. And I was all over the place, uppers, downers. So then that psychosis starts to kick in, that paranoia that's like, oh man, this is really real. This is really happening. And I had been up for a few days. I had called my dad and was like, hey, this is what's taking place. Like kind of gave him the lowdown. And my dad was always like, he was super supportive and understanding because he had an upbringing similar to mine with the substances, like all this stuff.
So he was repeating a pattern?
Yeah, for sure. So he was always receptive to whenever I was facing things like this. But it was always up to me to divulge what I was going through.
Right.
You can't read no one's mind. So I call him and tell him this, and he's like, I want you to meet me for breakfast in the morning, and we're going to turn yourself in. And I'm like, Like, no.
Here comes the parents with the rails.
Yeah, dude. And I'm
Good for
like,
him though.
yeah. So, and I'm like, dude, is this really, but I could feel it. Like, I'm either going to get caught and it's going to be worse, or I am going to do something drastic where I'm going to lose my life completely because of how much paranoia I'm currently in.
Thank
I
God
did. Yeah. And, I did. I met him for breakfast, like at the corner diner right by the jail. And we go in.
Hood
Yeah, dude, I was
feeling like
doing
enemy
bad.
of the
I was
state.
doing bad. Been up for like 84 hours. Anyway, so I go in and we turn myself in, and they're like, "No way!" Like it was a pretty high bulletin, like that they were looking for me.
Dang.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, when you get handcuffed to that first bench, that first experience you're going through of like, this is really happening. You question everything that's existed in your life for however long you've been at it. And I was sitting there, and it was just like, this is what I have made my life, and there's no turning back.
The weight hits you.
Yeah,
All
at once.
all your mess finally catches up.
So anyways, I'm in county jail. There ain't no getting out this time either, because bond is way too high. 500,000.
I was going to say, I'm surprised they even gave you the option.
Yeah, and it was wild. And I was like, yep, I'm here. So, I really started learning how to live as an inmate. And I don't think I had a court date for like even a hearing for the first month and a half, because such high profile.
Did you hear of recovery in jail? Was
No,
there any
never.
did you go to any Narcotics Anonymous meetings? Did you have the self-awareness to go like, I have an addiction?
No.
Okay.
Like there was none of that. There was more like a church setting. Like the church groups would come in and kind of be like, you have to forgive yourself for being an addict and these types of things. And that was kind of the first time that I really like honed in on like, I have a problem. Like I have a legit problem, because prior to that, I had never sat down to process anything.
I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at is,
Yeah, because I always, the means to do, want, and find more. That was all that existed.
Right.
I didn't process nothing outside of
You're
that.
just running.
Yeah. So I go to my first court day, my first court hearing, and they're like open sentencing 12 to 36 years for all these. And I'm 20, I think I was 21.
That'll get your attention.
Yeah. 2018. And I'm like, I have ruined my life. I have legitimately ruined my life. And I have to truly face everything that I have built for myself within this. And that's when it just kind of took over me. Like something's got to give. Something has to take place in order for me to exist outside of this feeling I currently have. And I didn't know what that was at the time. I was still a boy, because I didn't have no support system, no one to guide me, to show me how to raise myself. I knew how to make money and do dope.
Right.
And that was it.
And like scientifically, like they've shown that your brain shuts down at whatever age, right? Like you stop progressing. And so emotionally, maturely, you were what, 14?
Yeah, 14. Yeah, 100% I was. Dropped out of school. So it was like, I maybe went to 2 months of freshman year. So my education was minimal. There's all these things. But they called me in one day, these detectives did, and they were like, we don't have enough evidence to place all 7 on you. We're going to open up a deal for you, which is called a proffer. So a proffer is pretty much their ultimate goal, the DA's goal, is to close out a case, right? Is to find this person guilty of the matters that they committed. And they were like, we can only pin you for 2. We can't pin you for 7. We don't have active evidence for the other 5 that you committed. But what we'll do is, if you openly admit guilt to the ones that you did commit, we're going to run you the security footage. We're going to do these things. If you openly admit guilt to the ones you really committed, we'll cap your sentence at 4 years. And I was like, sign me up. Tell on myself, right? I was like, I can live with that at that time. I'll tell on myself. So I did, and they're running all this footage and all these things. And I'm like, dude, I don't even remember doing that one. Like, and I'm like, but that's 100% me.
Sure.
Like that was the first time I think I had to really take accountability for my actions. They gave me time served for, I think it was like 18 months or like 24 months, something like that. And they gave me a 5-year sentence. Now, when I get there, I was automatically eligible for parole, because of the time served. And there's like these mandatory minimums, 33% of your sentence, all this stuff I'm learning as I'm going through it.
Right.
So I'm like, hold on, you're telling me I'm going to touch down on a yard in prison and get out the next week? I was like, that sounds like a plan. Let's do it. Well, they denied me parole. They were like, insufficient amount of time served for the severity of the crime, doesn't have a GED, doesn't have all these things that, is a point system within the
Yeah.
Department of
The
Corrections.
matrix was too high.
Yeah, exactly. Matrix is too high. So they were like, we want another year out of you. So I had to do 13 months in the Department of Corrections. But while I was there, I did get my GED. I did start going to college. I got an associate's in computer information services.
Nice.
This is the first time that I felt structure, any type of structure, routine. And there was people when I was affiliated, and these individuals that were above me did show some signs of guidance of how to become a man. This is what you do. This is how you take care of yourself. These are the
Nice.
things that are expected of you when you get out. And, they're really like, we call them OGs, original gangsters. And they were really like, don't come back. We don't want to see you come back. That's the last thing we want to see. So when you get out, you hit the ground running and do these things. So like I set up a plan of like, I'm going to continue college when I get out of school. And that was the first time that I was like, I want to be an addictions counselor. I want to work in addictions. I was like, this is the only thing I know.
But you'd never been through a program yourself, right?
No, never.
Right.
So the halfway house was the closest thing,
Got you.
and the MAT and those types of things. That was the only programs that existed currently at that time, really. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get out and try to do this the right way. So I get out and I get enrolled in school. I go to sober living. I knew something needed to change, right? Like, and this was strictly off the guidance of the under individuals that had came before me.
Yeah.
There was no resources given to us by the Department of Corrections. This is purely word of mouth from other individuals.
Yeah.
Peer support. So I get out and do these things, but automatically I get into school and they give me the FAFSA, they give me the subsidiary, the unsubsidiary loans, the grant money. And I'm like, now I'm 2 months out of prison and now I have $7,000 extra. And so what do you think I did?
Yeah.
Same cycle, same repetition, all these things. And a lot of PTSD from prison too. And so that's when I got really heavy into benzos.
Got you.
And that ruled my life because I didn't want to feel anything. I didn't want to remember anything. I didn't want to be present. I didn't want to do nothing. And like, I still feel to this day, like my emotions coming back online from how numbed they were from benzodiazepines.
Got you.
And like, I still struggle with even feeling anything. I'm almost 3 years in recovery and and I still have to ask myself, should I feel a certain way about what is taking place in my life? Should this event make me feel sad? Should I be angry right now? Should I be happy? Should I feel some sort of joy? Like my emotions were shut off for such a long period of time.
Yeah.
Like I still have to incorporate telling myself like, hey, it is okay to feel.
Yeah, you're still learning that emotional intelligence.
Yeah, for sure. So I reoffended, right? Went back, did the remainder of my sentence. My dad moved to St. George, Utah, retired out here from Colorado. Okay.
Smart man.
He meets Chad Brandon. Chad Brandon, dude, he's connected to everyone in some way, one way or another, one form. Anyways, so
that dude gets around in a good way.
So my dad was an umpire after he retired for sober softball.
Oh, nice.
And Chad was playing one day, and my dad's talking to Chad and says, my son's coming out of prison. I would really love for him to get involved with something like this. What do I do? How do I do this? And Chad's like, they were playing a team from Colorado during this game, which is even crazier.
That is crazy.
And he's like, I'm going to talk to the coach on the other team. And he's like, well, we're going to send a message to your son and try to get him out here.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I was like, my dad gives me this call and he's like, you can come stay with me. And I'm still in the benzo addiction even after discharging parole. And so I come out here and with all the right things in mind, I'm only bringing enough for 7 days and then I'm going to taper and I'm going to do all these things. And I come out here, I end up in hallucination from the withdrawal. I walk into the wrong apartment. I catch a case in the state of Utah.
I was going to say, the only problem with that plan is no matter where you go, there you are.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, I get a charge out here and, I end up, Chad's like, we got him now. Pretty much tells my dad, we got him. We're going to get him into treatment. We're going to get him into drug court. So they do. They put me into drug court, went to Lionsgate Recovery. And I remember when I walked into Lionsgate, I was in shock. I was amazed. I was so grateful to be in such a nice place, just like all the other treatment centers in St. George, Southern Utah.
Definitely different than incarceration facilities.
Oh my gosh. And any treatment facility that I had ever seen out there was, prison bunks inside of a halfway house with a counselor that says, write a paragraph.
Right.
So,
Right.
and I get to Lionsgate, and I remember my first statement to my therapist was, I've only seen shit like this on intervention. And I was like, are you sure my insurance covers this? And
Which is awesome.
yeah,
That's
it
awesome.
was true though. Like I was like, treatment centers actually exist like this. I thought this was an A&E special,
Right.
So, and within that though, I felt present. Like I could be comfortable with where I was and be surrounded by individuals that actually had walked through it. Like I had always been faced with therapists who compared them smoking cigarettes at 16 to heroin addiction.
Right.
And that's hard to relate to. You automatically rebel in those types of situations.
Yeah.
And within treatment out here, we started to see like, wow, these are alcoholics and addicts that actually have walked in the same footsteps that I have. And I remember being told, and the first thing that really resonated with me was, I'm just here to love you while you try to love yourself,
Beautiful,
or
man.
within the journey of you finding out how to love yourself. And dude, I broke down in that moment. Like I was like, that's all I had wanted my whole life,
Right.
was just somebody to see me for me and not have to falsely act like they wanted to be a part of me or act like I could trust them. And it took off from there. Once I felt that amount of acceptance and that I was actually seen, I put it all away. And I was just like, you know what, dude, I have nothing to lose anymore. I've already lost everything. I've been through every trial and tribulation. Like, this is where the healing begins. And I started challenging everything that was given to me. I took every suggestion, and I knew on the other side of this, like if I don't give this my all right now, I end up in the Department of Corrections in another state.
Right.
It's a reset of everything that I just experienced. And I don't want that. And so I did. I graduated residential. I moved into sober living out here. I made use of all the resources that we are so blessed to have out here in Southern Utah, because where I'm from, these resources do not exist. And I think people take that for granted. They're like, oh, vocational rehab won't give me a bike, won't give me an e-bike. And I'm like, dude, you know what I'm saying? There's got to
Right.
be an amount of gratitude that you're willing to accept within these things even existing.
Yeah. They might not give you a bike, but they'll help you get into a trade school, or they'll
Exactly, dude.
Right.
There's so many resources within just one, and that's one entity.
Right.
And
There's workforce services.
there's so much switch point, the TAMF grants, there's all these things that I relay clients to on a daily basis, and they're huge.
That's probably why you're such a good case manager, is because you literally
walk through that. Agreed. And I speak that to the clients. I'm like, look, I'm not telling you to do this because it's on a manual. I'm asking you to help yourself. And I always tell them, anything that I ask you to do is for you. It's not for me.
Right.
Right. We could set goals together all day, but they're not to better my life.
Right.
And I think they see the other side of that when they connect to that. So I graduated, all of Lionsgate, and I did all the hard shit when I was there. My first year recovery was rough.
I think that's important for people to point out is you hear people say like, oh, I've been in 12 treatment programs.
Yeah.
And I always ask, did you ever do any outpatient? Well, no.
Yeah.
So you just went to residential, 30,
reset.
Maybe 60 days at max.
Sandwich and a nap.
Right. Yeah, that's not enough, right?
No,
like you got to do the integration back into the community of day treatment, and then you got to do the maintenance phase, which is IOP, and the sober community, which is the sober living, and for sure.
And there's
so you
much support.
You say your life was crazy in the first year. Talk to me about that. Like, what were the steps that you went through? And
so within the first year, it was so much cleaning up the wreckage of my past, because right before I came out here, I caught a DUI. So I ran from that case. Before I got arrested out here, I got in a domestic dispute with my father, which was completely my fault that I had pinned on him. So I had to, write a letter to the DAs and the judge and have them clear this up, and me be willing to take responsibility for my actions within that.
Right.
So here's the thing is within that, right?
But you would have never thought that way before.
Ever. No,
it was his fault.
Yeah.
We're the victims.
Yeah, exactly.
The inability to take accountability.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And I didn't even know, like, I was starting to become accountable. I was just taking suggestions. And then later on in the road, I was like, whoa, this is what being accountable is. Right. And I didn't even notice that, I think, until my graduation with Lionsgate, when I was told, like, your first year, you walked through a lot of shit. When you cleaned up a lot of wreckage of your past and all of these things. And I was just like, you kind of have that light bulb come on. That's like, whoa. Like, I didn't even realize what I was doing during these moments, because I was focused. you know?
100%. You
But
were just grinding like you were grinding back in the day, but in a healthy way.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where those shifts started to take place. And I see people get so rebellious over the suggestions, but it's like every time I tried one, I found a gift within it, even if it doesn't fit my foundation, you know?
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah, and my foundation today is huge because I was willing to take those suggestions during those hard times and do the hard shit. And I think a lot of people come into recovery and they're like, okay, I got clean. I don't feel like shit anymore. I could just be complacent and life's going to get great. That's not the way it works. And that's, like we said,
That's not working a program.
No.
That's just being abstinent.
Yeah. And, I do have a sponsor. I did work the steps. I started sponsoring other individuals like,
Again, taking suggestions.
yeah, exactly. And it's hard because at first I was still in that mind frame of like, I'm going to do what suggestions are being asked of me because they're reporting to the courts. So I'm just going to fake it till I make it type of deal. But I never planned on making it. I was like, I'm going to get off drug court and go right back to what I was doing. That was my plan. Get this year over with, and then I'll be back to where I want to be. So I got the sponsor and I worked.
That external motivation, right?
Yeah, 100%. But I got the sponsor and worked step 1 and 2. And they were like pure out of just report back. So I have something in group to say about I'm doing this so that the drug court gets, a good
Checking
report.
boxes.
Yeah, exactly. And then I did step 3 and this light came on. And I was like, why am I fighting this? Why am I not giving it my all if I'm already doing it?
It's a great point.
Man, my life started to shift after that. When I got into step 4 and I looked at those resentments and, the connection of how I have a part in everything, really starting to see. And I remember it pissed me off so bad when my sponsor was like, you have a part within your family abandoning you. And I was like, I wanted to be like, you mother effer, dude. Like, what are you doing? I was 13 years old and you're telling me I had a part in my family walking out on me. And he was like, Jaerden, that's not it. And like, I'm not going to drop what it was because there's people that are in really recovery that need to find that out for themselves when they walk that step. But that shift that took place, like I'm expecting to have others forgive me for the same things I won't forgive others for. Those type of implementations of what recovery is and who we are becoming and then bringing in spirit into it and a higher power, dude. And I was just like, all of this, my whole life has played into this story I'm living now. And there is no doubt in my mind that a higher power was working even when it was hard, even through all the hard shit, even through all the ups and downs of life. It was like, this had to happen in order for your story to come to life.
For sure.
And I mean, look at it, full 360, dude. Chad got me into treatment. Chad did all these things. And now Chad is my supervisor.
I was just going to say for the listeners that are listening to this out of state or not from this area, Chad Brandon is a guy who helps individuals find treatment services and he's done that for years. He's very well known in the Southern Utah area. And today he's like the big dog at Renaissance Ranch in Southern Utah. So he's really solid dude. A lot of people.
Yeah. Similar stories, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
But I mean, like, it's confirmation after confirmation that a higher
to your credit though, people can get you in anywhere. You can lead a camel to water, but you can't make it drink. So hats off to you for going through all that, especially with the background and the mentality that you had and like basically realizing like at the end of the day, it's not my therapist's life. It's not my sponsor's life. It's not the judge's life. This is my life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when the real work starts, I feel like.
Yeah, man.
So I did all the things that my sponsor asked me to, and I gave 110% because, and I kind of made a commitment in the beginning when I started to feel these things taking place in my life. I was like, you know what? I'm going to give 5 years of commitment to this journey. And within those 5 years, if my life doesn't become the cliche saying better than you ever could imagine it,
you can always go back.
Exactly. Right. It's waiting for you out the door.
Yep. Always out there waiting for you.
And within the second year, dude, my life took off to a place I never could have expected. Better than I ever could imagine. All the promises. Like? So, I got, the things that I always long for, bro. I have a community. I have things that fulfill my life. I have brothers and sisters around me that are actually there to support if I ever need anything. My family's in my life today. Those resentments have been relinquished on both sides. I'm an understanding individual of who I am today and what I'm meant to be, and that operates in authenticity and truth. And I'm still learning how to do that on a daily basis. Like,
Amen.
I am not this perfect spitting image of recovery. I'm not. Like, I fuck shit up. I fucked shit up yesterday.
We all do.
Yeah, you know.
But the
And
difference is we have a 10th step that we can continue to take moral
exactly,
inventory, and
of
when wrong,
ourselves.
promptly admit
Admit
it.
it.
Those IPs,
Yeah.
you know, or journaling or whatever that looks like for you.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of, dude, you're setting that mic on fire over there. I love it, right? Like yeah, man. Talk to me about like the maintenance phase. You know, some people, I've heard this kind of debate back and forth. Oh, it's harder to get clean than it is to stay clean. It's harder to stay clean than it is to get clean.
Mm-hmm.
Which one was more difficult for you, and how do you maintain your recovery today?
I think honestly, it's pretty equivalent to both, because I feel like there's a lot of fear within both. You know, and yeah, there's fear stepping into it, right? Because, and I explain this to a lot of our clients too, is mostly when we're stepping out of addiction, right, and into recovery, there's this identity that's been created for so long behind a substance that when we step into recovery, we have to fully relearn who we are. And I'm like, dude, it makes sense that you're going through this. And you know, I have to tell myself that. I have to look in the mirror and be like, dude, you're okay that you're messing shit up. You're okay that you're in shame and guilt right now because of what you're currently experiencing. This is new. This is who you are.
You're in uncharted territory.
Exactly. And it's really hard to do that though. Also, when I was talking about like connecting to my emotions, like mind, body, spirit, like those types of things, it's hard to really be like, okay, am I in this state of complacency? Am I in this state of maintenance? And that's where the fear takes in on long-term recovery, I feel like. And that's why I say they're kind of equivalent, because I don't know what today holds. I don't know what tomorrow holds. And I can always be in fear of the unknown. But that's where that serenity prayer takes place.
For sure.
You know, and it's like, I only have control over me.
Right.
You know, the way I react, the way I act, the way that I process, all of these things. And I fail a lot, you know, like I have to learn though that failing is okay. And I think a lot of people are when they get into recovery, they're like, man, I have to fail. You know, I failed my whole life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want no more failure. Any more failure can take me back out, which is true. And that's where the foundation, I feel like, is very big.
But they don't recognize that even in failure, like now you're not starting over, you're starting with experience.
Yes.
Right. And so even if you fail, well, now when you get up and you try again, you have the experience of the previous time that you failed.
Exactly.
The other thing that I think is absolutely beautiful about like the rooms and working a program and being connected into a community of recovery is I can remember in my stages of recovery going through things that were difficult. Like there was always God always kind of put somebody in my path who had been through something similar, who I connected with, and I could, like, as long as I was being open and vulnerable and being willing to share the stuff that I was experiencing, my internal unmanageability. Yeah. There was somebody else out there that was like, hey, I've been through that.
Yeah, me too.
And here's
those me too moments.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And just even if just hearing that you're not the only person that's experienced that, oftentimes I don't even have to say anymore. It's helpful if they can give you kind of some pointers and some guidance, but just knowing that, like,
I'm not alone.
That person who's picking up a 30-year chip has been through what I'm going through at year 8 or 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And if they can make it to 30, if it didn't take them out, I can do it too.
Agreed, man. And that's what I love about the rooms and what I love about sponsorship and being able to develop that understanding of what that exactly is, right? Because when they told me, like, pick a sponsor who has something that you want, right? I'm thinking I'm connecting to material aspects, you know, of like, does he have the car? Does he have the girl? Is there a house? Like, is there a baby on the way? Like all of these things.
Is this like a tattoo where I can flip through a portrait or like, how does this work?
How do I choose these? Right.
Yeah.
But when I, you know, initially chose my sponsor, I was like, I want to speak like this man. I want to be able to be what's the guy called at the front of the conductor?
The chair?
Like of a symphony.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when he speaks, everybody's like, whew, like they connect with what is going on.
Yeah.
Whether it's not a similar experience or not, but it's the emotions and feelings behind it.
And the vulnerability and truth.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, and that's when that light came on for me. It was like, I want what you have.
Yep.
And I feel like he has played a huge role in who I am today. And that's like, we can't do it alone. We can't, man.
Right.
Like, left to our own devices, we're gonna fail.
Well, and we don't have to.
Yeah.
I think
exactly.
Especially like in the population, Renaissance Ranch is an all men's facility. And sometimes in the populations that we work in, there's that ego, right? There's that,
I got it.
We're dudes. And so, Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting healthier though,
Yeah.
right?
I'm
Like
working on it. It's hard.
there's that, I don't know, that like if I ask for help, I'm less of a man, or
Yes.
if I take a job working at Arby's as my first job in recovery, I'm a punk,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
I'm a lame or
For
whatever.
sure.
And that type of stuff, I get it. Like I understand that line of thinking.
Yeah.
And at the same time, not only can we not do it alone, we don't have to do it alone.
Exactly.
Like it's okay to show some vulnerability, and it's okay to like peel the layers back, and heaven forbid somebody gets to know you, because deep down, I would argue most people are like little Jaerden. Like they just want
100%.
that love, that connection, and yet they fight it tooth and nail sometimes.
Mhm.
You know, and we were the same way. Yeah. But
Yeah,
when
dude.
you get outside of it,
Yeah.
looking back, you're like, just embrace. The sooner you
Yeah.
can embrace that, like people are here, and it's okay for them to love you,
Yeah.
and for you to learn how to love yourself.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
gonna be okay.
It is, man. And it's like I have struggled a lot, like even through the last month, but reminding myself that I can love myself,
Mm,
right? Like I can screw shit up and still be okay with who I am because of that, right? And have to work on my ego every day. I take the softball field, bro, and it's like there it is again. Like there, exactly there it is. It comes out when it wants to come out, and it's having the awareness of these character defects that exist within us,
right.
right? And relinquishing them to something outside of ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Ego can serve its purpose. It's having the
can.
awareness of going like, okay, this is becoming toxic.
Yes, exactly.
Or,
And
this
has.
is keeping me from something that could be beneficial.
Yes, exactly. And you know, I talk a lot about too of like how our character defects can also play as assets in certain roles.
Sure.
Right. Like once we have the awareness of our character defect, if we apply it in a different way and then it becomes a different end result, right? It could
Mhm.
also be our biggest asset because we have an understanding of who we are and how we operate.
Right.
You know, and there is powerlessness that exists within that though too. You know, because our biggest assets we can also become powerless over.
Right.
You know, so there's so much awareness that has to take place within recovery in order to understand who we truly are. Right. And that is having to take extreme accountability and ownership within the things that we process on a daily basis, you know, and that's what has really led me into this field is like, I want to see the light come on within other individuals
Mhm.
that so simply existed within me because I was willing, you know, and it didn't start as willing. So like, it's like and it's such a good statement to say, I'll meet you exactly where you're at.
Right.
Right. Because we can't have these expectations with them working in recovery that people walk through the door and they're ready
Right.
because they never are.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't, I didn't want nothing to do with it, but I was grateful for it. I became grateful. I became in a place of gratitude enough to see like there is a different option than
Right.
committing and repeating the same process.
Yeah, even if we're just planting seeds, hopefully one day those seeds will grow and sprout.
Yeah.
And that individual will have the opportunity to
Mhm.
have the benefit of that seed that we're planting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like I started my journey of working in recovery with sober living management for Lionsgate, you know, and then I did MAT for about 18 months. I worked as a client coordinator at True North, you know, and then went into a peer support role, started like running groups over there. And then, you know, something told me reach out to Chad. That
awesome.
voice came on, man, and it took off from there. And you know, and I was already enrolled in school for, you know, my community or my social sciences associates, and then with the SUD-C certification, and like now I'm in internship for SUD-C, and that's going to be something that I'm
beautiful.
walking into.
Yeah.
And I never saw that these things would be possible because of recovery, right? Because
Right.
of connecting with a higher power that was providing for me what I couldn't provide for myself.
It's mind blowing when your mess becomes your message, right?
Yeah,
like
100%.
the things that have been detrimental used in a healthy way can become your assets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was speaking on. And it's made me into the person that I am today. And am I the best version of myself that I could possibly be? Probably not. Like there's still areas that I have room for improvement, and I have to remain teachable within all of that. Every experience that I walk through every day, if I remain teachable, I can learn something from each individual that I'm also trying to help.
Yeah, for sure. I would argue that you're the best version of yourself in this moment because
Agreed.
tomorrow hasn't happened and you haven't learned things tomorrow
Yeah.
that you need to learn, right? Yeah. So unless you're
That's a good
taking a
way.
step back, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure in years from now, we'll look back on this podcast and you'll be like,
Wow.
oh man.
It's like a letter to myself.
I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah,
Anything
man.
else that you want to, share as we kind of close this thing out?
Now I just want to, thank you for this opportunity, to instill that message, and let others know, like, there's hope, there's faith out there, man. If your mess is currently your mess, it doesn't mean that it can't be turned into a message.
Beautiful, man. Well said. Love you, brother.
I love you
Thanks
too,
for
man.
coming on here.
Of course.